All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the September Planning Commission meeting to order. Sorry, Cheryl, didn't mean to scare you. So, all right, we've got our normal housekeeping items here of the attendance. Mr. Secretary, would you take that away?
Miller.
Here.
Jackamore. Here. Cawthorn, present. Monfee. Present. Duffield. Here. Hatley. Choate. Smith. Black.
All four.
Westcott.
Yes, sir.
We do have a quorum. Okay, all right. Next thing is the minutes from the August meeting. Have you, what is your pleasure there?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the August meeting. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. Old business. We've got rezoning a property from R1 to R0, located at 1805 West Main Street, submitted by Lighthouse Companies on behalf of Deanna Aravet. You have a staff report on that?
Yes, sir. So as stated, this is a rezoning at 1805 West Main Street. Existing conditions, it is currently zoned R1, single-family residential. It's an existing single-family home in a transitional neighborhood along West Main Street. The structure was recently sustained fire damage and deemed a total loss. That was right before the first meeting it was supposed to be on the agenda, so we've kind of tabled it until now, but it's back. It is located next to medical offices and across the street from St. Mary's Hospital. The property to the south is zoned R1. The property to the southwest is zoned RO, and the property to the east is zoned C4, as well as the property to the north is zoned C2. We did find out as coming for this rezoning that the property directly to the west was actually zoned RO currently, and the zoning map did have an error, so we did get that rectified. There is a residential development located to the south of this property, along with other residential properties along West 2nd and Reno Avenue. In our review, there are 3 items to consider when rezoning properties: the future and current land uses of the area. In this area, we do see a mixture of commercial and residential properties. However, recognizing that over time this will transition to a predominantly commercial area, as shown by the businesses that are operating within historically residential structures as seen to the east of this property. Allowing this property to be rezoned just extends that RO zoning from the south of this property and now to the west as well. Eventually, staff will look into rezoning the block to the east as RO to maintain the look and feel of the corridor as residential office. That is something that we're looking at in our office currently. Zoning the property as RO is consistent with the future land uses of this area. The second thing to consider is comp plan recommendations. The Reimagine Russellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan is a guide for decision making. It defines this area as suburban corridor and transition. It describes that to include commercial and office developments that are either abutting an arterial corridor or within a transition area. It is fair to make the assumption that within this transition area, we would see a mix of residential and commercial uses and would be in line with the residential office zoning. The last item to consider is value or income potential for the property. This rezone would increase the income potential for the property. However, it is staff's opinion that rezoning this property is in line with the development within the area and supports the growth of the neighborhood center. As a result of this, staff does recommend forwarding this to City Council with the recommendation of approval to rezone the property from R1 single-family residential to the zoning designation RO residential office as a result of the findings that it is in line with existing and future land uses within the area. The proposal aligns with the Reimagine Russellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan, and although there may be an increase of value or income potential of this property, it is in line with the development of the area. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Is there, TJ, you have anything to add to that at all? Okay. All right. Commissioners, got any questions for Victoria or for Mr. Posey?
Motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Mark me down as aye there too, so. Okay. All right, we have the next item is a special use permit to allow a trucking company in a C2 zone located at 306 East 39th Street, submitted by Metcalf Trucking on behalf of Jackie Keeney, Revocable Trust. Mr. Lindley, do you have a staff report on that?
Yes, sir. This is a special use permit for JMT and Metcalf Trucking. The existing conditions are located on East 39th Street in a C2 highway commercial zone within the Arkansas River Industrial District. This property includes an existing building that was previously utilized as a truck accessory store. Surrounding properties are zoned C2 highway commercial and R2 medium density residential. Uses within this corridor include other truck and auto repair shops and a welding shop. The proposed use of the property being under the category automobile truck sales, new and used motorcycle sales and service is in line with the land uses in the Arkansas River Industrial District. The permitting process allows staff to ensure that the standards of the Russellville are equally applied. Article 2.10 provides requirements for commercial zone building permit review to include parking and drainage improvements. The front of the property is gravel, does not currently have striping for the parking or loading area, and will need to include ADA access for customers, employees per the American with Disabilities Act. The driveway to the parking area will need to meet hard surface requirements, and the parking regulations per Article 6 parking calculations will need to be provided to confirm there is sufficient parking. New auto repair facilities have specific requirements. Those needing addressed are outlined below. All other requirements have been met or will be applicable if improvements are proposed. And that is a 6-foot tall masonry wall or other opaque decorative fence as approved by the city around all outdoor storage areas on the property. This includes but is not limited to the outdoor storage of vehicles awaiting repairs, parts, and other equipment. The owner is proposing to come into compliance with this requirement. It is staff's recommendation that this be approved, y'all approve this application with the following conditions. Design and construct a site obscuring fence in compliance with Article 3.14.1 of the Russellville Zoning Code, and design and construct a paved driveway access from the public road to the designed parking area and ensure access to the customer area of the building for the parking lot that is compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act as a result of the findings below. The applicant demonstrates a willingness to comply with the Russellville Zoning Code, and the proposed use is in line with the adjacent use in this district, and current traffic routes are constructed in such a way to handle the traffic from the business. Do y'all have any questions?
I did speak to Mr. Metcalf. I go to church. We go to church with him, I guess. Stephanie and Jonathan, and spoke to him today. He has what Sarah had sent him, and I told him, I said they had a prior engagement, so they couldn't be here tonight. But I did tell him that if there was any issues or whatever that off of this, if he objected to anything, to be sure and voice those before the meeting. So, but anyway, I have spoke to the applicant personally, so he's fine with all that. All right.
Motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve and special use permit. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay. All right, next we have a special use permit to allow RV business in a C2 zone located at 3814 South Arkansas Avenue. Mike Delente, I hope I'm not flaying that name, is that right? On behalf of GD Promotions LLC. Sarah, take it away.
Thank you. Yes, so this is a special use permit for Nice Campers. This is located down on South Arkansas. The existing conditions are that permits have not been applied for regarding recent expansions. The expansion caught the attention of code enforcement, which led to this application. The expansion has more than doubled what was in operation in June 2019. The top image there is an image capture from city aerial photography that was taken in June 2019. In October of 2019, they had expanded a portion of the property, and then earlier this year, they expanded again. And the latest expansion expanded their site by approximately 1 acre. It is in a highway commercial zone, C2, and this is considered a redeveloping transitional commercial area. Review comments. The permitting process does ensure that all standards are equally applied. The proposed existing use, and it is existing, is the sale of recreational vehicles and may be issued as a special use permit within this zone. My staff report went into a few more details than this. I did try to be concise with this report. So to meet the intent of the zoning code, we're stating that they would provide 6 hard surface parking spaces, including 1 ADA van accessible space. The applicant will place slating in the front, along of the fence. So they did install a fence, and they're going to put the side obscuring slatting in the fence along the front and the first 8 feet along each side. And then they were sent the requirements regarding the landscaping, and they're going to meet the landscaping requirements along South Arkansas and the front street buffer area. So they'll plant some street trees and put a little bit of buffering. That helps to meet the intent of the code without having them redevelop. They did expand without permits, so we could say they're not in compliance with the code, but we're trying to kind of work with the applicant. If they had applied for permits, there are certain requirements that would not have been in effect if they had applied in 2019 that are in effect now. And so trying to be reasonable in applying the requirements of the current code, and that's why we've got the regulations that we have listed here, or the requirements that we have listed here. So staff does recommend approval of the special use permit with the following conditions. Provide 6 hard surface parking spaces. It is outside of the fence area, so it's off their property, but they're working on a shared use agreement with the adjoining property owner because it's not in a right-of-way, it's on adjacent property, so that they can put hard surface parking in that area. They will install that slatting in the fence along South Arkansas and the first 8 feet of each side. Meet the landscaping requirements for the street trees and the 10-foot front street buffer. And apply for the property boundary verification so that we have their legal lot description for building permit purposes. As a result of the findings, the applicant demonstrates compliance with the regulations within Article 2.10. The applicant intends to come into compliance as recommended regarding Article 4 and Article 5 of the Russellville Zoning Code. The proposed use is in line with adjacent uses in this district, and current traffic routes are constructed in such a way to handle the traffic from the business. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Sarah. Is there anybody here to comment on that one, or? Okay. All right, this is a public meeting, so if anybody is here representing any of these agenda items, you're welcome to step up and. All right, okay. All right, gentlemen, ladies, what's your pleasure?
Make a comment and then a motion on it. I want to commend both the city and the applicant for, I know there's, sometimes things happen, but you went ahead and started this, but with the city working with you, and I've seen your place and what you're doing and how you're doing with it. So I appreciate the willingness to work together on it, to come to this, and I think that shows, from the city's perspective, really trying to help small business, to work through some of these things that you may not have been aware of to start with. So, congratulate you both on working through this. With that, I make a motion to approve.
Well said, Mr. Duffield. I agree. Thank you, guys. The intent is, it's there, and it does show. All right, we have a motion to approve this request. Do I hear a second? Oh, we did? Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Okay. Thank you, guys. All right, item number 3 was tabled due to lack of utility response. Anyway, we've got a vacation of an alley located lots 3 to 10, Block 1, North Side Edition, submitted by Drake Adams and John Stumbo. We'll need a motion, or we'll need to approve that table. I'll entertain a motion to do that.
Make a motion to table.
Okay, we have a motion to table. All right, motion, we have a second. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Here, any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. All right, we have a zone text amendment to adopt proposed changes to the Russellville zoning code submitted by the city of Russellville. Sarah, take it away.
Absolutely, and I'm going to do the staff report for both item 4 and item 5, because item 5 will be updates to the land subdivision and development code as well. So I'm going to go through both of those. So the following items for the zoning code and for the land subdivision development code were discussed at the Long Range Planning Committee and are being forwarded to you all for consideration. I did want to note that the committee currently has a few items that require further research and clarification before final decisions can be made. These items include the appropriate approach for dealing with portable buildings converted to single-family living structures, establishing regulations for data centers, including Bitcoin mining facilities, setting noise level standards for industries, and potentially amending the definition of a family as defined in the Russellville zoning code. When we have come to conclusion on those items, whether to move them forward or not, they will be then brought to you if that is what the Long Range Planning Committee determines. With that, the following items were discussed at the Long Range Planning Committee meeting and are being proposed for updates to the Russellville zoning code. Article 3.1.2, dimensional requirements. This proposal requires additional setbacks for structures that do not substantially duplicate the primary structure on corner lots, which the committee felt met the intent of the original language. I know that there's a lot more detail in your staff report, but for this particular one, there was a structure that was built in compliance with the current regulations, and we got lots of calls because the neighborhood did not like it. It was built what is a rear yard on normal property at the exact setback line for the side street. It's in the rear yard for the current zoning code, but it was not substantially duplicating the primary structure, which the neighborhood felt that that's what the zoning code covered and should meet. And the Long Range Planning Committee did agree with that analysis. And so there's going to be, if you don't want to comply with that, there's going to be a setback similar to what would be for your building next to your house. You substantially duplicate the house. And if you don't want to, you build it behind the front line or the back line of the house. We're not following the same, but we are increasing the setback requirement, additional 10 feet for those structures. So they can still build them in their backyard. They don't have to duplicate on corner lots, but if they want to build them closer to that side yard property line, they will have to substantially duplicate the primary structure. Article 3.22.4 regarding commercial building design. When a building expansion is less than 20%, the architectural features outlined in the commercial building design requirements are not mandatory. However, the committee did determine that there should be a 2-year time frame when expansions should still comply with the requirement, and this is in relation to new construction. So a business comes in, they buy a vacant piece of property, they build a brand new commercial facility. The committee felt that for the first 2 years after that new construction, they should still comply with commercial building design if they expand that facility. And after that 2-year time frame, if they expand less than 20%, then they would not have to comply, and the requirements are. But there is now a time frame after new construction that is being proposed. Article 3.22.5, design standards, and Article 3.22.6, site design. So currently, these updates are all, or this section is all in 3.22.5, and it's design standards for the building and then the site design. And the proposal is to separate those into the design standards. These are for the building, and these are your site design. So the site design is to ensure that pedestrian movement and trash enclosures and the parking lots are taken into consideration. And it's just same verbiage, it's just broken out into architectural design features for the building and then site design features, still under commercial building. Article 10.2, building permit. New language is being introduced to ensure compliance with the state building code regarding permit expiration. The purpose of this addition is to provide clarity and establish clear procedure for requesting an extension of the permit. It is mimicking, duplicating the language in the building code, so it was easy to find for staff, and it's the exact same language referencing the state building code requirements. Article 11.4, procedure for appeals. This section addresses the procedure for appeals, variances, and special exceptions. As a result, the heading is being corrected to accurately reflect the section of the code. And then additionally, Article 11.4.1 verbiage is updated to reflect when it is relating specifically to appeals and when it more generally refers to all 3 application types. Specific time limits on permits aligning with the same time frame as the state building code were also included within this 11.4.4 procedure for appeals. These changes aim to provide clarity and consistency in the code's language regarding the various application types. And then Article 12, definitions. Within the area requirements table, there was a term called triggering property, and yet it was not defined. So to provide clear guidance to staff after lengthy discussion, this definition is being added to the zoning code, or proposed to be added. So those are the proposed updates to the Russellville zoning code. We have 2 items being proposed for updates, and this is under item 5 for the land subdivision and development code. Article 4.2.1, application requirements. Currently, item 15 is always required, or always requires a letter of certificate of approval or disapproval from city, county, or state agencies. And at the time of preliminary plat, those letters may or may not be possible. So the committee felt that it was better represented by adding language for facilities not under city jurisdiction. Lastly, Article 7.5, Planning Commission procedure. Historically, there was an expiration date listed on large-scale developments, but at some point prior to 2019, that expiration was removed. It is best practice to have an expiration date listed on large-scale development, so this brings us into alignment with best practices and with the comprehensive plan. as a result, we do recommend that you would forward both applications to City Council with a recommendation of approval as a result of the findings that the Long Range Planning Committee recommends these updates to the regulations. The changes align with the intent and are meant to clarify regulations, and the change is consistent with the objectives outlined in Reimagine Russellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan, the Russellville Zoning Code, and the Land Subdivision and Development Code. Are there any questions?
Okay. You want we're going to need to do item 4 and then 5 separately. So I'll entertain a motion for item number 4 first. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 4, the zone, the amendment. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. And the same on item number 5. Okay, we have a motion. Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. All right. If there's no other business, we are adjourned.